Hello and welcome to Make Money Count, this edition without Justin Turner, unfortunately. I'm sorry to his fan club. Anyways, listen, this is going to be a quick one. The Bank of Canada came out and gave us 25 basis points. The prime rate in Canada is 4.45%. The United States Federal Reserve dropped rates by 25 basis points. What does all of this mean? If you are a piece of real estate, it means nothing. The price is not going to go up. If you are the Canadian economy, it means nothing. Maybe if you're inflation, it means something because it looks like inflation is starting to creep back into the market. We've seen that now over the last 2 months. And that may create more of a problem. The thing we need to understand is that every time we get 25 basis points as a rate cut right now, it's not, other than the psychological impact of, oh, wow, the prime rate went down by 25 basis points. My variable rate mortgage is going to go down by 25 basis points. What it's really doing is fueling borrowing into the future, right? We've studied this in the past. It was the Australian Central Bank that did a report where they indicated that the effect of monetary policy, whether it's a stimulus like what we're seeing right now or an attempt at contraction when they're hiking interest rates, happens 18 to 24 months down the road. So what we are experiencing now isn't the full impact of any of these rate cuts. They are psychological and they are meant to help the economy through this current period. But with everything that's going on in Canada, I don't think that the two speeches we heard recently, one from Mark Carney and this one from Tiff Macklin, indicate a very rosy picture for our future. I don't know how you interpret it. Feel free to tell us about it. But from what we can tell, it doesn't look great for Canada. Anytime a government starts telling you that the plan is going to be to get better for 10 years from now, what they're really saying is we don't have a solution and we think we're in trouble. So let's look first at the bond yields. Government of Canada 5-year bond yield. So you can see we were at a low of about 2.5, 2.6% on the 27th, and then Bank of Canada announcement, and more likely what we heard from Tiff Macklin in that announcement shoots yields back up, and now they're starting to climb back down again. So all of this should indicate to us that, so listen, Tiff Macklin's speech tells us, I'm not exactly sure. There was a really good article in Better Dwelling that went through it. We're going to go through it in a second. Better Dwelling, you got to read this thing. But Tiff Macklin tells us that although reducing interest rates won't solve the economic problems that we're facing, it is necessary to reduce interest rates. And although it's supposed to combat inflation, inflation is remaining pesky and we aren't combating inflation. So it was like a hodgepodge of words that came at us that if you were reading through what the Bank of Canada was telling us, it was really, really kind of complicated and difficult to discern what they're actually saying right now. We got a problem. The problem is created by trade with the United States and the uncertainty and maybe more the certainty of how bad it's going to be. And the Bank of Canada knows that reducing by 25 basis points isn't going to help that problem specifically. And the Bank of Canada identifies that we do have a conventionally created inflation problem in that CPI trim, the measure that the Bank of Canada uses, is higher than it wants it to be. But the Bank of Canada is saying, don't worry about that because fundamentally we don't believe inflation is as running as hot as it is. So I don't know, I just said it and it sounds confusing. And when you read it, it's even more confusing. So what does that mean? To bring it and bake it down just for mortgages, it means that the Bank of Canada is saying they feel as though for the current environment, they don't need to reduce interest rates anymore. However, the Bank of Canada is seeing a very difficult picture ahead, and that may result in further decreases in interest rates. We just don't know right now. It helps that the United States dropped interest rates. The bond yields are showing that rates in Canada are going to be lower for longer. And that means that, like, remember, on a 5-year Government of Canada bond yield, there's the tail end of where rates are. So I think what we're going to start seeing is bond yields are going to keep coming off because the expectation of interest rates rising again is going to continue to get pushed out further and further, especially when you start hearing people talk about 10-year timelines. Now, let's have a look at this Better Dwelling article quickly. This article was hilarious. Bank of Canada says lower rates won't address the current economic issues and cuts rates anyways. So I don't know why. I just found this so amusing. And if you don't read Better Dwelling, please start. They've just got such a great take on everything. Very bearish take on everything. Very bearish for quite some time, but very amusing. So they start off with a really key point, a good takeaway from the central banker's report. Monetary policy cannot offset the long-term implications of U.S. tariffs or other sources of structural change. The primary focus of monetary policy is to maintain stable inflation. That's what they said in the report. So yeah, as we were just saying, right? This comes from Better Dwelling also. So the Bank of Canada is telling us that it cut rates to support the economy, and it doesn't believe that easing those rates will do much. We all understand that. It even says, cool. Okay, then it says, as we were just talking about, then it says, headline CPI came in higher than the bank anticipated, and clearly they're not comfortable with it. It indicates that we've got underlying inflation, but they're not worried about it. And they said that it's not a statistic, but more of a feeling. I mean, oh my God, it just doesn't sound good. And then this was my favorite line. We imagine that underlying inflation also told the Bank of Canada governor that he's smart, handsome, and gosh darn it, people like him. That's a Stuart Smalley, I think, Saturday Night Live reference. Anyways, all of this is to say that we've got a central bank that's cutting rates just because. We've got a prime minister that's telling us we got to wait 10 years. And we've got Canadian consumers and homeowners right now that are baffled because they're looking for direction. All I can tell you is that interest rates are going to maintain this low trajectory for quite some time. There is no amazing economic tailwind coming to rescue us. And we will kind of plod along like this for quite some time. And I know that's horrible news, but I just don't know how else to frame it with the information that we're being given. Interest rate cuts aren't going to do it. The only thing we have to hope now is that inflation doesn't heat up further, because we really won't have a solution for it. We're not going to raise rates. And if we raise rates, the economy is in such bad shape. And we're probably not going to cut rates that much. And if we do cut rates, it means that the economy's in even worse shape. I'm sorry that I don't have better news today, but maybe next week when we have Justin, things will have changed.